Welcome to Afton State Park. Just 30 minutes outside the Twin Cities, a great place to try out backpacking.
Hi, I'm John of Muddy Boots Camping, and today we're going to be taking a look at the backpacking campsites at Afton State Park. I've taken the time to create videos of each individual campsite with 360-degree views. So if there are any that you're particularly interested in and want to check them out, you can check them out in my Afton State Park playlist, which I've linked in the description box below. After we reviewed the campground, we'll take a look at footage of the Firewood and water area in the center, and I'll give you a couple more general thoughts about camping at Afton. Now, one of the things to consider is that when you park in the parking lot, you hike down into the St. Croix River Valley, and then you hike back up a pretty steep hill. The campsite does sit on the top of a hill, and so when you're hiking back up into Afton State Park campground, you're going to be going uphill. And so if you camp anywhere below campsite number 7, all of these campsites here are going to be downhill from the center of the campground, which has the fire and the water, and then your 2 toilets, one of which is here and the other toilet, which is here. So keep that in mind. One of the other things to consider also is because it's on a hill, there are fairly steep bluff along the right-hand side campsites. So campsites 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. Some of these, the bluff or steepness comes right up against the campsite. In other areas, it's a little further off and not quite as steep, but it can be very steep. So if you have young kids, before you book, I would highly recommend checking out the individual videos to see if that site might be appropriate for you, or if any kind of a fall or you're a fall hazard might consider that before booking there. On the other side of the campground, the left-hand side along here, there's a tree line that does provide some shade for these campsites. And you'll notice that there's here wooded campsites are square, open area campsites are round. I would say all of these along this edge here have some relative shade, some sun. It's really a mix. It's not fully wooded. And to that end, if you really think about the open versus the wooded campsites, there's some advantages to either. The open area, generally, you'll have some sky views. So Afton could be great for looking at northern lights or at the stars. And if you're in one of the wooded campsites, you're less likely to have that. You'll have to hike into the center of the campground to do any of that or have that activity. If you're here in 12, 9, or 8, you probably can still see some stars from your campsite, or it won't be quite as much of a hike as some of these other areas. So that's another thing to consider. Also, open campsites will generally, in the summer, spring, fall, there'll be some breeze coming through there. And you won't have any shade, or you have less shade than you would in the woods. But on the opposite side is in the woods, particularly during the day, that's where the mosquitoes and the bugs are going to rather gather. So if you're going to be spending a lot of time in your campsite and the sun is a concern, you may want to be more towards the woods or pick a site that has at least some tree cover. If bugs are a concern for you and you don't want to be applying a lot of bug spray, you may get more of a breeze in the middle. And these wooded sites might be really buggy in the summer. So those are things to consider as well. Now, if you're hammocking at Afton, all of the wooded sites, there's occasionally places where you could hang a hammock. There are 2 sites that have poles specific for hanging. And if you have a party of 3 or more, really you're going to want to use one of these hanging specific campsites, which are campsites 12 and 8. They are particularly for hammocks. You could hang up to 6 hammocks very easily. That would be very difficult in a lot of the other campsites as well. Now, I would say, just generally speaking, there are some campsites that are great at Afton, and there are some campsites that I would not even stay at unless maybe I was just going for the night to view stars. Probably the campsites I would stay away from the most are these here in the back. They have nearly no shade at all. Only 26 and 24 might have a little tree cover. 27, 25, and 23, they are absolutely full of sun. You will fry and bake at those sites. So wouldn't recommend those. Also sites 15, 10, and 11, I would say, are probably less desirable sites at Afton as well. So if you're looking for which sites should I avoid, immediately I would say those are the sites to avoid. Now, on the opposite side, which are the sites that are some of the best at Afton? If you're looking for a more of an open prairie space, I would say 14, 16, and 22 all have some shade and some open space. 14 and 16 are not that private. 22 is actually very private campsite, and would recommend those. And then I would also say campsites 21 and 22, if you're open to being in the woods in a bluff, are really, really nice campsites as well. So those would be kind of this quadrant here is really top picks for Afton State Park. Do keep in mind though, just like you have to hike uphill past campsite 7, any campsite of these 2017 through 22 here, all of these, this is actually a decent walk to get to the center or to use the restroom. So if you want a shorter trip, I would pick one of these other campsites. Anything over here is really going to be quite the walk to get to the commode. Well, I hope you find that helpful, and we'll check out the center area of the campsite, the wood area, and a couple more tips.
So here at Afton State Park, you can buy wood, which is relatively cheap, and they have some saws and sawhorses, but it's basically milled, the ends of milled wood mostly, and you can see the saw here, you know, it's not gonna be super sharp. So if you plan on having a fire here, I would highly recommend bringing your own sharp saw. And as you can see, the pieces are all different shapes and sizes. You can find some really thin ones, probably turn that very easily into kindling. Some of it's a bit thicker, so bringing a heavy duty fixed blade knife to baton wood after you've sawed it, or a small hatchet might be a great idea if you plan on having any kind of fire. You can buy via the Yodel app, $8 per bundle. Honestly, I think the per bundle is as much as you cut and carry in a day. Is likely what they mean per bundle. If you want clarification, you can ask the office at the park. But there is wood supplied if you pay for it, which makes it easy. It's kind of central in the campsite, located next to the water, which is right here. And of course the commode again is right over there. There's another commode right over there. The water's simple enough. You simply push and hold the button for 3 seconds and it will start to run. It is off though for the season, it looks like still. So not sure when they turn that on. Probably once the freeze potential is over, which it's May or April 10th right now. So shouldn't be too much longer before that's turned on. This can be a great place to camp in the winter. Done it before, especially to like test out equipment, because if you have to bail, it's a mile out walk and short drive home. So if you're testing out like, can I handle X weather with my gear, this would be a good place to do it. One caveat is that Afton Alps is located here. It's a ski area, so when there is snow, especially on Friday nights, Friday, Saturday nights, they are playing loud music and they have all their lights on, and with the snow reflecting, let me tell you, it's like you're camping in Afton Alps until about 10, 11 o'clock at night. Then it gets relatively quiet, but that's one thing to consider. It's not super remote, but it's a great overnight place to test things out, try it out. Hope you liked the video, and if we get enough likes, then we'll definitely make more of other state parks, focusing mostly on backpack sites, hike-in sites, cart-in sites, places that take a little bit more effort to get into. In the summer or spring, my little daughter once said, this was Africa, there'd be lions in that grass. And you know what? I think she's right.